Hi, welcome to the NEH Media Projects webinar. My name is Peter Frestet. I'm a Senior Program Officer in NEH's Division of Public Programs. I will be providing you with information today on the Media Projects Grant Program, as well as some guidance on applying for a grant. This is a pre-recorded webinar, but I will include contact information at the end of the presentation, so you can reach out to us here in the Division of Public Programs with any questions. I want to provide you with a quick overview of the Media Projects program. So this grant supports the development, production, and distribution of documentary films and television series, radio programs, and podcasts. All projects supported by the program have to be grounded in humanities scholarship and demonstrate an approach to their content that is thoughtful and analytical. We have a couple of deadlines coming up in the next year for media projects. First one is in August 9th. And then the one after that is January 10th, 2024. You can find all sorts of information about media projects on our website, www.nih.gov/program/media projects. I'm going to cover a few topics today. First, we will talk about NEH more broadly and what we support, what types of projects. I will give you an overview of the Media Projects Grant Program, talk about funding levels and requirements for applying. I'll provide you with some advice for creating a strong application, get into the application and review process, and finally I will leave you with contact information so you can get in touch. So the National Endowment for the Humanities is a small independent federal agency. We were founded in 1965 along with the National Endowment for the Arts, the NEA, by an act of Congress. Our mission is to serve and strengthen our nation by supporting high-quality projects and programs in the humanities and by making the humanities available to all Americans. We make grants through a number of different divisions and offices, and we support a lot of different types of work across the agency. We support research and scholarship by individuals or groups of scholars. We support the preservation of and access to historical and cultural collections. We also fund curriculum and professional development for K-12 and higher education teachers. We fund new digital approaches to humanities scholarship and public engagement. And we also support the development of strategic climate action and adaptation plans. Media Projects is part of the Division of Public Programs, where we support not just film and audio projects, but also museum exhibitions, public discussion programs, digital media projects. Throughout all the grant lines that we run here in public programs, all projects need to be grounded in humanities scholarship. They should deepen the public's understanding of significant humanities questions. They have to involve collaboration with humanities scholars and, if appropriate, knowledge keepers. And they should also attract a wide audience or target audiences that are underserved by humanities programs. One thing we don't support in public programs or at NEH more broadly is projects that advocate for a particular program of social or political action or for specific policies or laws. As a taxpayer-funded agency, we can't support that kind of work. Instead, the projects we fund should encourage reflection, invite questions, and provide a larger framework for engaging and understanding a subject or topic. If you are thinking of applying to the NEH, to any NEH program, really, you should ask yourself, does my project have a humanities focus? That's really the first core question for any project that's coming in for funding here at NEH. That, of course, leads to the question, what are the humanities? Well, according to our founding legislation, we say the term humanities includes, but is not limited to, the study and interpretation of the following: language, both modern and classical, linguistics, literature, history, jurisprudence, philosophy, archaeology, comparative religion, ethics, history, criticism and theory of the arts, those aspects of the social sciences which have humanistic content and employ humanistic methods, and the study and application of the humanities to the human environment with particular attention to reflecting our diverse heritage, traditions, and history, and to the relevance of the humanities to the current conditions of national life. So really we're understanding the humanities here at NEH fundamentally as a set of disciplines, as you might find in a college of arts and sciences or arts and humanities, but also as a way of looking at the world and asking certain types of questions. I want to tell you a little bit about a new agency-wide initiative that we have. This is called American Tapestry. This initiative emphasizes the role of the humanities in tackling contemporary social challenges, and three in particular: so strengthening our democracy, advancing equity for all, and addressing our changing climate. There's a number of new grant programs that have been created under this initiative, and it also serves as an encouragement, welcoming projects that address these topics. In media projects, you're not required to address any of these topics, but we very much welcome applications in one of these areas. Media projects, again, supports the development, production, and distribution of radio programs, podcasts, documentary films, and film series. Film and television projects may be standalone documentaries or a series of programs. Radio and podcast projects may be single programs, a series, or could be segments within an ongoing program. Projects supported in the grant may also include supplementary components such as discussion programs or websites. All projects should be intended for national or regional distribution. Furthermore, we're looking for a number of things in the projects we're supporting. So they should build on sound humanities scholarship, again, deepen public understanding of significant humanities questions, approach a subject analytically, presenting a variety of perspectives, involve humanities scholars in all phases of development and production. Really keep coming back to some of these requirements just to emphasize them. They should involve appropriate media professionals and engage the general public in learning. Some important dates to keep an eye on in this program. So I mentioned the application deadline, August 9th, and then again, January 10th. But also we have draft deadline. So if you would like to submit a draft of your application for feedback from NEH staff, you can do that, entirely optional, but you can. And for the August deadline, the draft deadline is July 5th. And then for the January deadline, the draft deadline is November 29th. And then finally, you'll be notified about your application. If you apply in August, you'll hear in April of 2024. If you apply in January, you'll hear in August of 24. Let's say a little bit about eligibility. So eligible applicants in media projects, so U.S. nonprofit organizations with 501c3 status, public and 501c3 accredited institutions of higher education, state and local government agencies, and federally recognized Native American tribal governments. Those are all and the only eligible organizations who can apply. Individuals can't apply for this grant on their own. Foreign and for-profit entities are also not eligible. If you are an individual filmmaker or a team of filmmakers partnering with an applicant organization, such organizations cannot serve merely as fiscal sponsors, but they have to make substantive contributions to the project. We list those the types of contributions that you can make in the notice of funding opportunity, but I'll just tell you a couple of them. So monitoring the progress of a media project, contributing to the work plan or the research plan, the budget, fundraising and distribution plan, contributing to choices of personnel who work on the project, including the project scholars and production staff, contributing to the research, analysis, interpretation of content, consulting with other project personnel regarding humanities themes, treatments, and scripts. And there's a number of other possible ways you can contribute to the project as well if you are an applicant organization, again, working with a filmmaker. All right, let's dig into the different funding levels in media projects. So development grants, first off, which enable media producers to collaborate with scholars to develop humanities content and other program elements. These are available up to $75,000. The outcome should be script or detailed treatment. You can also plan for outreach and public engagement. Award period is 6 to 12 months. And development grants support a number of different activities, for example, meetings with scholars, the preliminary interviews, the production of a work in progress reel or trailer, the creation of partnerships for outreach and public engagement, and archival research also can be supported. Before you apply at development, you should have done a number of different things to be ready. One is you should have assessed the major humanities scholarship related to the subject. You should have identified the humanities themes and questions you're going to raise, assembled a group of scholars who can serve as advisors and other relevant experts if applicable. You should have really begun consulting with those scholars on the content and developing the interpretive ideas. You should have formed a media team who can work on the project during the development period. And then finally identified any project resources, so archival materials, and then any potential interviewees that the project will talk to. Production. So for production grants, funding is available up to $700,000. The outcome should be the production and distribution of a media project. Award period 12 to 36 months. And the production grants can support archival research, again, and then rights clearances, further meetings with scholars, script refinement, the production, of course, of the media project, so filming, recording, editing, and distribution, and then the development of any related resources like websites or curriculum materials that can explore the humanities content that's central to the project. Then, of course, that outreach and public engagement. To be ready to apply for production, again, you should have done a number of different things. One, conducted extensive research on your subject, including archival work and preliminary interviews. You should have identified and developed a strong set of humanities themes, involved humanities scholars in creating and interpreting the project content, created your script or treatment, and then, of course, designed your plans for distribution and outreach, and then developed any partnerships. If you have applied for a media project before, you might be interested in knowing what's new in our Notice of Funding opportunity this round. So for the first time, we are allowing production recipients to request up to 20% in early release funding. So before now, production recipients have had to raise the entire remainder of their budget, that is to say beyond any NEH funds that they're requesting, before those NEH funds could be released. We're now saying you can request up to 20% in NEH funding before you've done that additional fundraising. Another change is that you can now submit a second work sample. This is at either development or production from an additional media team member. Before, you could only submit one work sample. And then another change, and this applies just to podcast and radio applicants at the development level of funding. So you're now required to submit a one-page description of a single episode, and then for any remaining episodes, the topics of those episodes and brief descriptions, 1 to 2 sentences of them. We used to require more detail at development for radio and podcast projects. All right, now I'd like to spend a little bit of time going over some tips, suggestions for submitting a successful media projects application. First of all, getting started, where to begin. You should always carefully read through the Notice of Funding Opportunity. This is the set of guidelines for applying for a grant that's available on our website. It contains really everything you need to know about applying for this particular grant. All of the information that's needed, what forms to fill out, how to put the application together. So reading that through, it's a long document, but reading it through carefully is a great place to start. Familiarizing yourself with the review criteria, which I will go over a little later here. So this is the criteria that our external reviewers will be using to assess the application, so knowing what we're looking for there. Again, starting to consult with your scholars and any other experts early in the process. The sooner you involve those experts, have conversations with them, the more your project will be, from our view, a humanities project from the ground up, and that's really what we're looking for. Starting to develop those partnerships with experienced producers. If you're a first-time producer, for example, or a filmmaker or an audio producer, working with other folks who have worked on humanities public media projects in the past. Developing those sorts of partnerships can be useful. Partnering with an eligible organization that can submit the application and substantively engage on you with your project. And then making sure you are registered with grants.gov and sam.gov, which will help you submit, and you have to do that to submit the application, to register with those outfits well ahead of the deadline. It can take weeks between the time you register and the time when your account is ready, and so really getting ahead of the ball there is going to be really important. Project personnel. So as I've said before, projects have to include a group of humanities scholars who will act as advisors. How do we define humanities scholars here at NEH? So scholars are folks who have an advanced degree in a humanities discipline and have a record of either teaching or publication or both on a subject matter in the humanities that's related to your project. Projects can also include community advisors as appropriate, for example, elders or culture bearers. They have to be led projects by a media team consisting of a director and writer for films and producers for audio projects. Other members of the media team could include the director of photography, editors, hosts, a lead digital designer, etc. So people often ask what makes for a successful proposal. So it's going to be a number of things, and they probably will not come as a surprise given the various components of a proposal that I've been talking about. So significant, interesting, compelling subject matter, strong scholarship underlying the project, and strong scholars on the humanities team, an accomplished media team that's done humanities public media work in the past, polished sample of prior work, and a project with engaging storytelling, right? So that's not just conveying information, but it's telling an interesting and exciting story for audiences. We also want to see national or broad regional distribution, and really audience appeal is going to be very important for a successful proposal. Suggestions on writing your application. If you are able, it's not a bad idea to submit a draft to us for feedback of your proposal. You can email that to publicpgms@neh.gov by the draft deadline. As I've said before, drafts are not required, they're optional, but folks have told us often in the past that they find them useful in improving their applications. So if you can pull something together by that draft deadline, we will take a look at it. The draft can be of as much or as little as you want in the application. What's really helpful for us to see is the application narrative, possibly treatment. If you have that, we will provide you feedback on those elements. You can also ask colleagues to read a draft, especially folks who have experience applying to NEH. And when you are writing the application, you should think about your audience, of course, which is not just NEH staff, but also our external reviewers who I'll say a little more about later, but will include media professionals as well as humanities scholars. In writing your application, you should use clear and concise writing and avoid jargon as well. For help in putting together a proposal and writing your application, we recommend reading the sample narratives that are available on our website. Those will give you a sense of what makes for a strong application. They're from previous successful applications. These samples, they're not meant to be all-encompassing, sort of telling you, everything you need to do for a strong application, but they rather provide a range of approaches to crafting a successful narrative. We recommend you step back from the topic in these samples and look at how the application narrative does a number of things. So how it describes its humanities content and how the project will engage with that content, how the sample describes the creative approach of the project and how it will convey the subject matter through its creative choices. Look at how the sample describes its audience and the plans for distribution, and also look at how that sample signposts key points to make it easy for reviewers to find important information. I've mentioned familiarizing yourself with our review criteria. So what those are specifically for media projects are humanities content and significance, creative approach, script and resources, project personnel, work sample, work plan, budget, likelihood of success, and audience reach and distribution. If you look at the notice of funding opportunities, you'll see we go into more detail on each of those review criteria, but I wanted to just give you an overview of what they are here, and you can see that they reflect really everything that I've been talking about today in terms of what's important in the application and what to include. So we have criteria that we're asking our reviewers to assess those core components of the application. I'll say a bit more now about the application process. So every grant program offered by NEH has a landing page that includes the application notice of funding opportunity and a lot more information besides. Media projects is no exceptions, and I've included that URL before, but there it is again, NEH.gov/program/media projects. On that landing page, you will find the link to the application packet on grants.gov. You'll find the notice of funding opportunity. You'll see a list of a link to frequently asked questions, another link to lists of recently funded projects in the grant program, and then those sample application narratives that I mentioned earlier. Click on the link for the notice of funding opportunity and you will get, again, the big document with all of the requirements for applying and instructions on submitting the application. So do again take a look at that carefully. Once you have submitted your application, we start our review process. So the first step of that process is that NEH staff will assemble peer review panels. And those panels, as I've mentioned, consist of outside reviewers for media projects. That means media producers and humanities scholars with expertise that's relevant to the applications on the panel in question. Those reviewers read each application on their panel, they take a look at our review criteria, and they provide feedback assessing each proposal according to the review criteria and telling us about the strengths and weaknesses of each proposal. We then internally take that feedback and make recommendations for funding based on it. Those recommendations go to our National Council on the Humanities, which is a group of 26 presidentially appointed and Senate confirmed individuals from across the humanities and doing all different types of humanities work. And they meet 3 times a year to review our staff recommendations. The National Council, then make further recommendations for funding to our chair. The chair of the agency, the head of the agency, takes a look at the National Council's recommendation, staff recommendations, the peer review feedback, and then makes funding decisions based on it. And by law, it is the chair and the chair alone who makes all of our funding decisions. Okay, well, thank you very much for listening and watching today. If you have any questions at all, if you have a project that you want to run by us, are working on a submission, and really need any information at all from us, please do get in touch. Shoot us an email at publicpgms@neh.gov. We are here to help. We are here to answer questions and provide what support we can in the lengthy and complicated application and review process. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much again, and please do stay safe and let us know how we can help. Bye-bye.